A UK government spokesman insisted the strict deadline set by Boris Johnson is enshrined in UK law. He admitted on Tuesday they would not formally be convening negotiating work tomorrow but that both sides remain fully committed to the Brexit talks process. The spokesman said, "In light of the latest guidance on coronavirus, we will not formally be convening negotiating work strands tomorrow in the way we did in the previous round. We expect to share a draft FTA alongside the draft legal texts of a number of the standalone agreements in the near future still, as planned. Both sides remain fully committed to the negotiations and we remain in regular contact with the European Commission to consider alternative ways to continue discussions, including looking at the possibility of video conferencing or conference calls, and exploring flexibility in the structure for the coming weeks." The transition period ends on December 31, 2020. This is enshrined in UK law. The latest commitment from the government came after Foreign Secretary Dominic Raab came under pressure from opposition MPs in the House of Commons to extend the transition period. Labour MP Stephen Kinnock told him, "Rather than trying to fight this war on two fronts, if you like, and stretching government bandwidth to breaking point, surely the time is now coming to request an extension to the transition period, and it's better to do that than to put ideology ahead of the health and safety of the British people." But before talks were cancelled, former Brexit Secretary Mr Raab insisted, "We're confident that we can get this done and, actually, I don't think delaying Brexit negotiations would give anyone the certainty, on either side of the channel, that they need." Brexit has caused the historic tensions between the UK and France over fisheries to reignite once more, and Paris is warning Prime Minister Boris Johnson will be unable to stop the country's fishermen from exploring British fishing grounds. The statement was made by France's Agriculture Minister Didier Guillaume as he maintained there is no scenario in which Mr Johnson can keep French fishermen out of UK waters. In July 2019, Mr Guillaume said, "It is possible that with Boris Johnson we will have a hard Brexit. There is no scenario in which French fishermen should be prevented, could be prevented, would be prevented by Boris Johnson, from fishing in British waters. There is no reason for it. So I will keep telling Britain that our fishermen must be allowed to keep fishing in its water." Hundreds of negotiators from the UK and EU were due to meet in London today to begin the second round of talks on a post-Brexit free trade agreement. But the coronavirus outbreak sweeping across Europe has meant those discussions have been postponed. This has led to speculation Boris Johnson will have to extend the transition period beyond his December 31 deadline, something he is refusing to do. Enan Menon, Professor of European Politics and Foreign Affairs at King's College London, told the UK Parliament's Future Relationship with the EU Committee on Tuesday, "This pandemic means that the case for an extension to the transition becomes much, much stronger. It makes an already compressed timetable still more compressed." David Davis said, "We are aiming towards a comprehensive free trade agreement along the lines promised by Donald Tusk and entrenched in the political declaration. If we achieve that, there is no need for concern." He added, "The unfortunate COVID-19 events will mean that cross-border traffic will be depressed and customs will be more than able to handle the traffic." Brussels has been urged to axe Britain from the post-Brexit transition period after Boris Johnson provoked fury through his inaction to curb the coronavirus outbreak. The Prime Minister was accused of putting the lives of some 3.2 million European citizens living in the UK at risk after not putting the country into full lockdown. A group of senior Italian MEPs, including a European Parliament Vice President, who have penned a letter to the European Commission calling for the bloc to place Britain under sanctions until the government implements more draconian measures to curtail the spread of the deadly virus. Boris Johnson communicated the decision not to combat coronavirus contagion, awaiting its spread among citizens and their flock immunization, they wrote, in the memo seen by express.co.uk. His irresponsible decision does not take into account the claims of the WHO and has been severely contested by the scientific community and in particular by the best-known virologists and immunologists internationally, as it exposes thousands of people at risk of life, including many Europeans residing in the United Kingdom. In addition, British inaction is likely to wipe out the massive virus containment efforts in the member states in the coming months, exposing the entire EU to a second epidemic wave. Brexit means the UK can soon take back control of its fishing waters, but there are concerns it could increase tensions with its neighbours, as disputes in the past have sparked fears of a war at sea, documents unearthed by Express.co.uk have revealed. Under the Common Fisheries Policy, CFP, which began in 1983, all EU countries have access to each other's waters. Upon leaving the bloc, the UK will regain control of its 200 nautical miles exclusive economic zone, as per UN Convention. Currently, Norway allows EU and therefore UK boats to fish in its own EEZ waters in return for market access as well as the right to fish in the EU, and particularly UK, EEZs. It is expected that post-Brexit, the UK will attempt to trade access to the UK market for access to Norwegian waters. Similarly, market access to the EU will likely be a key element in UK-EU negotiations, given that the EU is the largest fisheries market in the world and a net importer of fish. As the European Economic Area, EEA, does not cover fisheries, Norway and other EU countries do not benefit from entirely free trade with the EU. There are different rules for different fish species, as well as for processed and unprocessed fish. For some species like farmed salmon, Brexit may increase competition between the UK and Norway, and the UK's EU access advantage could disappear, potentially leading to increased tensions between fishermen from the two countries. However, such fishing disputes with Norway are nothing new. The UK and Norway are the two largest nautical powers in the plentiful North Sea and have clashed before. Documents unearthed at the National Archives by Express.co.uk have revealed that alleged offences by UK fishing vessels sparked fears of a war at sea with Norway.